this week's broadcast, we talked to Alberto Mazzola from Först and Clemens Först from ÖBB's RailCargo group. This is RailFreight Live. Hello everyone, it's Friday 26th of March and today's title is the CEO Talks. In the studio with me is Marieke van Gompen. Welcome.
Thank you.
You will tell us a little bit more about RailTech Europe in a while. But first, we're going to talk about the community of European railway and infrastructure companies, CER, because this company got a new CEO per January 1st this year. Alberto Mazzola succeeded Lieber Lochman, who had been on his post for 9 years. And as RailFreight Live, we're curious to get to know him. So we had a short introduction.
I'm old enough, so I have a long background. Let's put it like this. In terms of education, I had quite an eclectic education. So the grammar school, then a doctorate in nuclear engineering, an MBA in business, and I've been mayor of my small city when I was very young. So let's say I'm using all this background now in CER, doing some politics, because we have a relation with members of parliament and commissioners. I say we need scientific evidence of what we do, and we should not forget business, because at the end, railway companies must be in the market. They offered me the opportunity. I reflected 2 days and then I accepted. No problem as a foreigner to be here. Very international, very European, and I found a very good condition. Also, my kids are school. Before in Belgian school, afterwards in European school. We had very good relations. I would say you need to be more ecumenic. So you need to consider all the position of all railway companies in Europe. And this is the first point. The second point, in many occasions, you are the voice of railways. Many times people or members of parliament or commission connects to you and they like to hear from you the voice of railways. And you need to be able to represent the interest of all of them. I think so, yes. I applied for the position, so it's not that... I spent 19 years in Brussels with railways, but doing international affairs. So I dealt with European affairs, but also public affairs outside Europe, where we had a commercial interest at that time. But I spent all the 19 years in Brussels, so I know very much extensively all the other railways. And I know also, very well, I would say, also the Brussels environment, European environment and arena. It is a bit unfortunate that we had this pandemic when we had the European Year of Rail. The European Year of Rail is the fruit of the Green Deal, in my opinion. So the Commission established the Green Deal, and then they came out with the idea and supported the idea to have the European Year of Rail. So this would have been a huge opportunity. They have done many things, and we are planning to do many things. If the pandemic was not, I would say, hitting Europe. So we need to cope to both things. In fact, COVID is one of the priorities I have in my action. So how to address the situation and I would say guarantee that the exit from the crisis will be not so negative for railway companies. We are contributing to the Portuguese presidency. We are planning to send our ideas and proposals what should be addressed in railways in the next years. And they are organizing a special meeting with the Ministers of Transport the day after, on the 30th. We will, I would say, contact also all the ministers to let them know about what we think about railways. So, and we are planning how to contribute to the political dossier that will be presented by the Commission in this year and next year. If we are able to put in practice a concrete legislation and regulation, and especially investments, that will allow to achieve these results year by year, I think this will be an important result. Why I'm saying this? This is my third white paper in transport. The first one was not realized in the past. It was saying modal shift to railways, where we have to discuss. The second one was commodality and these things, it was not realized. So now I'm seeing the third white paper strategy. I would like that we get more concrete and we fixed also some year by year objectives and targets. Because otherwise we will wake up in 2030 and 2050 saying again, this was another white paper not realized. So we need to have targets each year how to get these results. I think if we manage, this will be a big success. No, because I'm 63 this year, so I will not be there in the next 10 years. But I hope to finish my mandate, to have another, we have a short mandate, we have another mandate, being able at least that we put in place all these things that we are saying, particularly for the smart and sustainable mobility, that we have the investments that we need, and we are in place at least part of the regulation that we need to achieve these results. I think this will be an important point.
Okay. And as Alberto said, on the 29th of March, the European Year of Rail will be launched, and this will be streamed across the entire continent. And Marika, I think it will also be streamed at or during RailTech Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, that's true. RailTech Europe will take place next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And on Monday we have a pre-event. Mm-hmm. So European Commission will officially launch the European Year of Rail from Lisbon. But we will have a pre-event here. We will have a former European Member of Parliament, Wim van den Kamp, will be here, and also some delegates from the Dutch railway sector. So we will have a talk with them, and then we will go to Lisbon for the official launch.
Okay, nice. And for those who don't know, can you explain what RailTech Europe is?
Yes, RailTech Europe is one of the biggest digital events of Europe. We used to do it in Utrecht in the Jaarbeurs every 2 years, but unfortunately we cannot do it, so we made it fully digital. So we already have more than 5,000 people who have registered for this event. You have 3 days and we will have 3 stages. The first day will also be about the European Year of Rail, but we will go more in depth. We will have presentations, for example, for the State Secretary Stientje van Veldhoven of the Netherlands. We have different European commissioners, and we also go into the Green Deal. So how can you realize the shift to rail? And the second day will be about the digital railway. And one of the most important topics of that day is ERTMS. Of course, all the member states are implementing it at this moment, and we will share best practices. And the third day will be about the smart infrastructure and all the different solutions that you have for this.
Yeah, okay, looks very promising. How does it work? How can people register for this event?
People can go to directly to our network platform. You can see the link here, I think. It's you go to next.brella.io and you can sign in, for example, with Google or create a new Brella account. So I will just sign in here to show you. So I already have an account here, so you see RailTech Europe live here. But if you're new in the system, you can go to new event, and then you can join by entering the code RailTech Europe 2021, and then you can start your session.
Anyone can use this code?
Anyone can use this code. Yes, so in this case, I will go back to my own personal profile. If you fill in all the information, then you will go to RailTech Europe. This is the event platform. So it's quite big. So you have different streams, so different rooms where you can go, different stages, and you can find them if you go to stream. So, for example, if you want to go to the main stage, where all the official opening session will be, or you want to see the presentation of one of the European commissioners, then you can click on main stage, and this will be the schedule for the live sessions.
Yeah.
So, and you can hop on and hop off and go through the different stages.
Yeah, and this is also where the pre-event will be streamed?
Yes, the pre-event will take place on the main stage.
Yeah.
And from the Tuesday on, we will start with the 3 different stages.
Yeah.
And the pre-event will be at 1:30 Central European time. And then we will start, and at 2 o'clock, the official launch will be in Lisbon, and you can also watch it from here.
Okay, that looks very promising. And what is this platform? It's called Brella, but does it have the function of other things as well?
Yes, you can see the live broadcastings of the different stages, and you can take a look at the schedule of the different days.
And networking, is that also possible here?
Yeah, that's true. You can also network. So let me see if I can go there. Let's go a little bit down. So you can network with people in breakout rooms. You can set meetings with several people. You can invite people to connect. So, for example, if I go to people here, then I can see here I can see my matches. So based on the preference and the interest that I have.
Yeah.
So, for example, I said, oh, I'm interested in digital coupling. So you see here, I'm connected to Amgad Mohammed. So I can go and set a meeting with him.
Yeah.
And the nice thing of this is if you have go in a program, you can bookmark your favorite sessions, and it corresponds with each other. So if you can make a schedule and copy it all to your own calendar also.
Yeah.
So you can make a personal schedule for every day.
Yeah.
And make sure that the meetings do not interrupt with the sessions.
Okay, yeah. So clearly this does take a little bit of preparation. So if you want to be there on Monday and you want to start following the sessions on Monday, we advise you to register now, I think. You have to set up your account, but once you're in there, this is the environment where you're going to stay.
Yeah, you can stay there for the whole 4 days, from Monday until Thursday. And what was nice, if you register now, you can already set up your preferences and see which matches you have. So you can already connect and start even planning meetings.
Yeah.
So it's best to start a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
So you're all set up.
Yeah. One last question. Why should people watch this event or attend this event if they are interested in freight?
In freight, there are different presentations about freight. There's one presentation is about Rail Baltica. Katrien Trautmann will present about it. You have presentations about digital coupling, which is a very important innovation for RailFreight. You have a lot of projects also about automatic train operation. For example, you have also Wim Knopperts of ProRail, who would tell a little bit about some problems that you will have with shunting and what they have done to find a solution. So there are different things that are now playing a role, in the shift to rail, and also for RailFreight. There are a lot of great presentations.
Yeah. Okay. So I wish you a very good event and a very nice week.
Thank you, and I'm very excited, and I hope to see everyone next week.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And as the show promises, we're not just talking to one CEO, but two CEOs today. And the other CEO is Clemens Först from RailCargo Group. He has been on this post since 2017. It's one of the largest rail freight companies, but first we wanted to get to know the man behind the position. Clemens Först, you are the CEO of RailCargo Group. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, it's a bit of a non-linear career. I actually started out in science. So I studied chemistry and mathematics, did my PhD in theoretical physics, spent 2 years also at MIT as a researcher, before then going into consulting, making junior partner at McKinsey, and then I had sort of this classical consultant destiny of doing a really cool engagement, in that case with ÖBB, and then getting an offer to switch sides. So I then spent 2 years as head of strategy of ÖBB Group, Austrian Federal Railways, before then going really into cargo, first in Eastern Europe, also building up our international traction activities. Then a short stint as head of production of DB Cargo before returning in 2017 as CEO of RailCargo Group.
Okay, and what made you choose for rail, actually?
Well, actually, during my consultancy time, I really quickly gravitated towards logistics, and sort of the way I sort of interpret this move is very much coming out of physics, coming out of sort of highly quantitative field of research. I sort of felt attracted by the complexity of logistics, right? Because it's by definition a high fixed cost business. So you have lots of fixed costs. You really need to manage those fixed costs at the same time, sort of find the revenues to match those costs. And that level of complexity appealed to me. Therefore, sort of I gravitated towards logistics. And then within logistics, rail turned up essentially just because of the choice of engagements. So then I became sort of more and more rail focused. Until I ended up doing the engagement for ÖBB, and that was then sort of the start of ÖBB time.
Yeah. And did you ever regret going for cargo rather than passenger traffic?
No, never. Because what I really like about cargo is it is so much international, right? It is then, in my opinion, also so much more complex in terms of organizing first last mile services, in making competitive products towards trucking, that for me personally, cargo is sort of way more exciting than passenger.
Yeah. How do you feel you've done so far in these last 3 years?
Well, I guess RCG is on a good path, and I personally, I'm learning every day. Yeah, so it's a huge opportunity. I'm enjoying it a lot, and still learning a lot on how to really navigate in this extremely difficult industry at once, right? Within a really large player, second largest player of the industry, and then especially obviously in challenging times that we're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah. And are there certain things that keep you awake at night?
Well, I tend to sleep very well. Obviously, what is a real challenge at the moment is finding the right balance between cost savings, between short-term survival mode in this crisis, and I guess the sector is in survival mode at the moment, and still putting enough resources, money, and attention towards the really important mid and long-term projects, because rail needs to modernize, rail needs to work on its future fitness, both the sector and the company, and now sort of balancing out these two really strong interests. That's the key challenge at the moment.
Yeah. Now, you already mentioned it. This is extra difficult, most probably in these times, because we have the pandemic and economic crisis. Yet we have the European Year of Rail, huge opportunity. How do you plan to make use of this momentum?
Well, I don't actually see sort of a conflict of interest, right? Because despite all the difficulties, and I'm fully aware we are far from being through this pandemic, but sort of what this pandemic has really shown is that rail is not only really crucial to address the climate crisis, but rail really also showed the systemic relevance during the crisis, where we as a sector, and especially also we as RailCargo Group, were really able to operate throughout this crisis, deliver every ton of freight. So I think that the systemic relevance of freight has really been proven. And that is sort of now an additional argument next to climate change for rail, for the change, and sort of an additional argument also within the European Year of Rail.
Yeah, so it's actually a unique opportunity.
Well, it definitely is for many reasons. Sort of now, if we probably go a step back, right? It is pretty obvious to everyone that our almost 75% reliance on road transport in Europe is not sustainable, right? We are a global laggard. It's not sustainable because of emissions. It's not sustainable because of congestions, of traffic safety, and so on and so forth. So that's just not sustainable. However, it has been for quite some time, and we have known for quite some time that it's not sustainable. The reason I'm deeply convinced that now is the time where change is going to happen, and why I'm really deeply convinced that the 2020s will really show a renaissance of rail freight, is because I think we have now sort of all building blocks, all puzzle pieces in place to really make change happen, right? Because we have a really strong conviction on the policy side, both on the European level and on the national levels. Yeah, you see lots of national measures, lots of policy measures on the European side. I think we are as rail freight operators, we have developed a lot over the last 5-10 years, especially driven by competition from trucking, driven by intense liberalization. We have developed a lot, and then lastly, we see, starting from the consumer, but now really also with the shippers, we really observe that green or sustainable transport does have a value. Yeah? And sort of talking to customers, if you talk to a customer 5 years ago, well, we are rail and we save so much CO2 on this transport, didn't make a difference, right? It was sort of price, it was transit time, it was reliability. CO2 was almost zero topic. And this has fundamentally changed, right? We are not yet at a point where a significant portion of shippers is willing to pay a price premium for green transport, but we are now at a stage where shippers are seriously considering shifting, are seriously considering also tolerating the partially increased complexity of multimodal transport compared to simple road transport. And I think we are now in a really sort of in a midterm of the transition, and I'm pretty sure now, given all the change, given all the mindset change also in society, then in a couple of years down the road, also the topic of price premium will be on the table.
There's been a lot of focus on this 2030. There should be 30% of the rail shares, of the transport shares on rail. Do you believe in this 2030 goal?
Yes, I definitely do. And I do because of the reasons I've mentioned before, because I think at the moment all the forces in play are working towards a common goal, which is making Europe more sustainable. And since transport is 10% of emissions, then obviously transport is a focus area. Yeah? The 30%, right, that's not just any number. 30% is a number we are currently experiencing or seeing in Austria, which is a average Western European economy, which is a number which is even higher in Switzerland. So that's not out of the ballpark, right? The key question is still, and by the way, if you go to Trucker Paradise US, you're 50%. Yeah, so 30% is not a number which is sort of purely visionary. That's something which is currently achieved in Europe. And the key question we've been asking ourselves within RailFreight Forward is what needs to be done to achieve it? Yeah, that it can be achieved, for me, it's a given. And essentially, there are three pillars that we sort of iterate and reiterate within RailFreight Forward. we need three pillars. The first thing is we need to do our homework as railway undertakings. And I've been talking about that, right? Innovative products, digitalization, asset innovation, and so on. So we need to do that. The important thing is, while this is the first lever we mentioned and definitely extremely important, even if we do a perfect job in doing our homework as railway undertakings, we still won't move the needle, right? Maybe we go from 18 to 19% modal share in Europe, but it won't be a game changer because we need two other levers and we are dependent on them. The second lever is a high-performing infrastructure. We are running on rails, right? Railway infrastructure today in Europe is incredibly segmented. You have different electricity systems, different train control systems, different rules and regulations, and so on and so forth. So it's extremely complex to run a train through Europe. Our vision there, which we are actively communicating against to all stakeholders, also the infrastructure managers, is running a train through Europe should be as easy as going by truck. Simple claim, lots of things to do for infrastructure managers. And then the third pillar, again, we need all three to be stable, right? You need obviously three, we need fair economic boundary conditions or sort of fair competition towards trucking. What I mean by that is that if you, as a person now send a shipment per truck, right, you're not paying for the full cost of that shipment. Yes, you're paying for microeconomic costs, you're paying a driver's salary, you're paying fuel and so on and so forth. What you're not paying for is you're not paying for the CO2 emissions, you're not paying for the congestion costs, you're not paying for any other external costs, right? Society, European society is paying for that. And these so-called external costs, again, emission, road safety, congestion, these external costs, they are currently paid for by the European society. These external costs are significantly lower for rail transport. So, and what we are arguing for, and what regulation in Austria is sort of moving towards, is to create a boundary condition where you, as a shipper, taking you as example now, you really have the full transparency of the total cost, yeah? And so you can either subsidize rail, that's something which is done in Austria, so you make rail cheaper and therefore you create a level playing field, or you can do things like CO2 taxation or so to make trucking more expensive and again level out the playing field. So there are lots of ways to do it, but it needs to be a fair competition. If it's not fair, obviously you don't get a macroeconomically optimal transport mix. So these are the three pillars. If we succeed to progress on all three of them, 30 by 2030 is easy.
Okay. And where do you think you'll be in 2030?
As RailFreight sector or as RCG?
As Clemens Först.
Me myself in 2030. Although I really like doing strategy work, sort of since I was a consultant and also now, I'm extremely unstrategic career-wise. So far I've sort of come upon opportunities which seemed interesting to me, and I sort of jumped on them, and it went well for me so far. So I plan on doing so. However, that being said, I sort of massively enjoy my job. It's really a great job. I can really move a lot, both internally and also on a European level. So I'm enjoying myself, and I'm not actively looking for a change.
Yes, thank you very much, Clemens Först. And with that, we've come to an end of this week's RailFreight Live. You can follow us on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe, you'll be notified. Now, for now, see you next week. Goodbye.
En ook u kunt hier zitten, want deze coronaproof studio is te huur voor uw congres, vergadering of webinar. We hebben alle techniek in huis om u hierbij te helpen. Kijk voor meer informatie op promedia.nl. Ik zie u graag in onze studio.